Welcome to Conversation with a Conjurer. With us today is Devonte Rosero. What's that again? Because it says DevonteMagic. Then I was about to say DevonteMagic.
That's his Instagram handle. So
Yeah.
Welcome to Conversation with a Conjurer. With us today is Devonte Rosero. I'm Daniel Rivington. This is Alex Johnson. Let's get to it. Devonte Rosero is a world-renowned mentalist who has been performing his entire life, completing over 10,000 shows in 25 cities spanning 4 continents. He's been a featured speaker and host for Google Ideas, Tribeca Film Festival, Harvard, The Economist, and 2 international TED Talks. Now, thanks so much for joining us, Devonte. How are you doing?
Very good. It's my pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
thanks for coming on, man. One thing I just want to go ahead and jump right into is how actually I came across Devonte. So he's been doing this thing that he calls Instagram takeovers, on live videos, and he's kind of created the movement. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, Devonte?
Well, yeah. So I'm, what started off as a hobby at 9 years old, kids parties at 15 years old for money, myself doing kids parties and doing magic in all different areas, whether it was selling magic tricks, doing magic shows, eventually became corporate shows. And that's what I was doing right before quarantine hit. So right now we're approaching June, but we're actually in June, June 2nd. I haven't even been keeping track, but so we've been in quarantine since March, April, May. So 3 months. The first month of quarantine in March, I didn't know what I was going to do. I had my whole the last 2 years were built around creating momentum for my corporate shows, traveling, getting the clients. No longer was I just doing local. I was being flown across, the nation, and I was really excited. We were hitting a point where I was, in my eyes, taking off in that world. Of course, quarantine hit. It took all of that away in one swoop. Just like that, every single show, every single event, every single flight had to be canceled with nothing in the future to look forward to, because we didn't know when, even if the quarantine was lifted, when are people going to go back to having events. So this was a very serious moment for me. I panicked for about a week or 2. I was not on social media. I was not doing any of that stuff. And eventually people started texting me saying, "Hey D, are you okay?" Now I was staying consistent with social media with personal things, specifically because I was traveling. So when I would do events, I would post up on social media. And for the most part, magicians followed me, people that sort of liked what I did. I maybe had around 3,000 friends. And they were asking me, where are you? And I said, well, I don't have any content to put up. I usually film the stuff I do at my corporate shows. I'm at home. I don't know what you want me to put out. And so it took me a while to think about it. And people started saying, well, would you do a virtual show for us? And that's the way it started. Someone said, could you do a virtual show for us on here on Zoom? And I said, yeah, of course. And I made it up. I just did a couple of tricks that I thought might work. And we did about 10 minutes and it went really well. And I said, man, I got to get myself more into this. How do I practice this? Because I'm a big believer of what's made me at least half decent at magic is that I've sucked so much that I've been able to suck in front of real people and then get better. And I thought to myself, I don't suck. I need to suck more in front of this camera, or else I'm never going to learn this Zoom world, because it is a completely different animal. Yes, you can get away with some of the same effects, but if you're trying to go for a long length, you're going to realize some things are different. The cadences and the timing and this is all different. So that's what led me. This is a long answer to say, and what got me into these Instagram videos. What ended up happening was one day I said, I remember an advice of somebody saying, if you're going to try to get into something, just go become a watcher of it. Go become a consumer of it. So Instagram Live, I didn't watch people on Instagram Live. Yeah. It just wasn't what I did. So I said, all right, let me go on. And I go on to this guy that I follow, who I did one video with. He has tons of followers. He has 500,000. He's the person that I follow that has the most followers. Okay. At the time. It's 500,000 followers. I just log in to watch this thing. I didn't even know how to work this thing. I mistakenly hit the request button, which basically means I'm trying to get on his live. He immediately, I see my screen saying, all right, you're accepting, you're about to go live. I freak out because I have no magic, I have nothing. And he goes, hey, what's up, Devonte? Listen, could you do a magic trick? I'm looking at the view count. He must have had 5,000 plus people watching. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, I don't know. I'm looking around my house, and literally the only thing I had, because all my magic was still in my case, down in my car, ready to go to my next show, I just had one of these, and I said, watch the cube, keep your eyes on it, and then I was able to solve it. And then he freaks out, and then I think I did maybe one other thing, and that's what started it all. Immediately, I get contacted by this professional boxer, ex-boxer, Zab Judah. He was the guy one of the only guys they said, knock down Mayweather, the great Mayweather, the boxer. So this guy is sort of a legend in boxing. He's no longer boxing, but he said, hey, would you come on my live and do it? And I said, yeah. And then we go on his live. And of course, he has tons of followers. And these were my first 2 days doing it. I was pretty terrible. I remember having Mentalist looking at my thing. I did a confabulation effect on Zab Judah's thing, completely butchered it. And it was great. And because I knew what it meant, which was, okay, I'm officially in this world. And that developed into every day I decided to start doing lives on my page. And 30 people would show up, give or take. And I said, okay, this is not working. 30 people, it's kind of the same people. Yeah. By the third day, they've all seen the same trick, and they're just like, okay, we're done. We don't really need to see anymore. So I was just like, okay, this is not going to work. So the next step behind that was somebody said, why don't you go back to going to these other people's lives? I have tons of other people that don't even know you. I said, well, that's a good idea. Okay, how do I do that? And they should just go on their live and try to get. I said, okay, that's easy. And the next time I tried to go on, they weren't my friend like the first guy that got me on. These were now random people. And oh, was it, filled with anxiety of trying to get on please add me in the comments. You're trying to get this person's attention. And of course, you're just one of 1,000 people trying to get this person's attention, trying to get into their live. And eventually my voice was very much muted. And so, yes, I would get on here and there onto people's lives, but nothing major. And just to fast forward, I mean, there's just so many little bits that I can go through, but I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward to your question now of what the hell are these takeovers about? Eventually, I remember seeing this artist that I was trying to get on somebody's page, and everybody kept saying, add Dallas. And I was like, who the fuck is Dallas? And why does she have so many people supporting her? Here I am, little old me, trying to get someone's attention, and she has 100 people, add Dallas. And this person could care less about who else is typing. They're like, okay, I must find Dallas. This person must be in my chat. And I think I added Dallas, and I went onto her page, and I immediately saw her doing these things where she would go live and she would tell people, listen, tell me where I should go, which live, and we'll all go together. So she would host a live from her page, get on 100 people. These 100 people would then recommend a live to go to, and these 100 people would go to that live and sort of support her and say, hey, and get their attention. And it worked. And I said, I wonder if it would work for me. And it didn't work very well the first couple of days. But as we kept it going, as people started to really see what the potential of it, now when I go live and I do, at any given point, we can have 200, 250 people with me going to do these takeovers. So that's what the takeover is all about. It's a way to get the attention of other Instagram lives that are happening, and being able to expose, what I'm up to.
But what's really cool about it is, as you said before, it's like a movement. And, like every time, you create an Instagram post, you want people to be engaged and be involved in it. But whenever you do the live thing, that's one way that people can really be involved and have a direct, effect, on your career, and also have a lot of fun. Because whenever I joined that first time I joined with you and I was a part of the takeover, I was like, man, this is just so much fun. I was having a blast, and it was successful. And I was like, yes, I was able to help be a part of that.
That is the secret sauce. That is the secret. If there is a secret to it, and this goes down to business. I mean, people talk about the word brand, and the word brand, when I think about it, I remember how I first heard about it. Like, people wear Harley Davidson that don't even own motorcycles. Mm-hmm. People will wear just the logo because of what the logo stands for, and you want to be associated with that. And that's what a good brand does. It sort of defines itself, and people want to be part of it. Yes, because of the product, but almost more so because of what it stands for. And what I believe I stand for is this hustler, this kid who's, when you see me, I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, And so the team takeover, it's like some kids go to sleep and then they'll wake up and they're like, yo, this guy's still at it. Like, so they're part of that. They begin, they get to be part of that, of bringing joy to people with Magic, the grind, the hustle, going from nothing to something. And so, it absolutely has become a movement. Go ahead.
Speaking on the hustle, something that, most people probably don't realize is until just what you say, a couple of weeks ago, you only had 2,000 followers, and now you've gained like 38,000 followers in what, 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever?
Just about. Yep. Just about.
So that's amazing. Now
Exactly.
that's a hustle right there.
And it's addicting, man. I mean, a little bit too much where I have to force myself to go to sleep. I have to force myself to eat. There's been times where we've gone over 24 hours. Now, I normally do smaller fasts where I won't eat for 16 hours. And then I'll eat.
Intermittent fasting?
Intermittent fasting, correct. And, that just will become, not eating for 36 hours or not eating for over 24 because it's just, I'm so engaged. I'm so locked in. And like I told you earlier, it's, I don't know how other people take this, but I absolutely broke down crying twice in this journey because Grant Cardone, I was just listening to him the other day, this guy, motivational speaker or whatever you want to call him. He said the other day, he had this big convention here in the States and he talked about how he broke down crying the first time because there comes a time where, you live up to what you think you should be doing in your life versus always feeling like you're falling behind what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And my life has been a lot about feeling like I wasn't living up to my own potential. And the moment that people were able to show me, let me say that again. The moment I realized people were showing me the love back and that I was playing at the level I should be playing, it was very, very emotional. Because it's not as if I wasn't trying before. It wasn't as if I wasn't hustling before. The hustle was always there for me. I've done these sleepless nights many times in my life.
You figured out a way for the hustle to be the most efficient, would you say?
Exactly.
That's amazing.
So one thing that we talk about on the show quite a lot is mentors. And now, have you ever had a mentor in Magic? Or have you ever mentored someone else?
Yes to both. Yes, of course.
And
do you want me to share with you who they are? Or?
Yeah, who they are and how they helped you, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure. Some people say that the best mentors are mentors you never even get to meet for many reasons. They sort of, you can still sort of idolize them. I almost feel like Peter Turner said that one time, where, you almost don't want to meet certain mentors. You kind of just want to leave them where they are as sort of figures in your life. But I've been lucky to meet several of my mentors. The two that I hold most dear to me because of the way they think and the way their views on life and magic and mentalism is Asi Wynn and Danny De Ortiz. Two people who I've interacted many times with. I've met them. I've had dinner with both of them. I try to consume all the material they have, but more importantly, their views on life. Specifically Danny De Ortiz on just his views on sharing magic and being open with magic and never feeling that secrets are this thing that belong to me and hoarding secrets. And he is a big believer of giving the secret and making sure that we help each other as magicians. Asi Wind with his just commitment to excellency. There's no surprise why these two guys are seeked by David Blaine and seeked by many other magicians, because they're dedicated to the art. They look beyond just what we all see as card tricks. And those are my two mentors. Those are the people that I absolutely adore in magic. Of course, there's people that I respect a lot. Juan Samaris is, of course, the GOAT, the best. Peter Turner was the person I first saw do mentalism that got me interested in mentalism. Before that, I just was not interested in the slow, way of performing mentalism. He made it real for me. And I was still able to find my own voice by watching him, because I understood he was pushing something different. My agenda wasn't his agenda. He definitely wants you to feel that what he's doing is real. I respect that. I can look at that, admire it, and still be myself, which is not that. And still take inspiration from what he's done. So though I've met him once, like I said, at Magic Live, he has been an inspiration. So those are sort of my influences right there. And then you said, as far as mentored others, of course, I've been a big brother in terms of magic to other kids along the way.
you're based in Brooklyn, is that right? And were you born and raised in Brooklyn?
Born and raised in Brooklyn. I now reside in Yonkers in New York, so it's just about 30 minutes away from Brooklyn.
Right. Performing in New York, is that a different animal to performing in other places?
The distinction that I would make being that I have traveled quite a bit. I've performed in London, I've performed in Sweden, I've performed in Denmark, I've performed in Ireland, LA, all over the United States. The one thing I have to say New York has that unlike any other is that the pool of races, the pool of social classes, just unlike any other. There's just such a variety in one place. Now, I can get that variety by traveling to many places, but if you want to get a crash course in like how to do magic for Spanish people, Asians, white people, this black people, you're gonna get it here. And growing up and performing in New York, I think gave me that ability to go into a room and connect with anyone, not just because magic can do that by itself, which it can, which is why many magicians can do this, but literally in terms of connecting with people, I feel like New York really set me up in a unique way for that.
Going abroad, you speak Spanish as well. Do you speak any other languages?
I don't.
So, speaking English and speaking Spanish, have you gone to countries where you don't speak the primary language of the country? And how was that experience?
Let me think. It's funny that when I think the moment that comes to mind is a Spanish country, Guatemala. But we went to perform in Guatemala to a place where some of the original Mayans still live, and they have the original dialect there. And so though they're in a Spanish-speaking country, they themselves did not speak Spanish. They spoke, I forget the dialect, but so that's an example of somewhere where I've been. I'm trying to think others. But yeah, so, and it happened. I did a lot of work with Magicians Without Borders. Magicians Without Borders is a nonprofit organization that was started by a guy named Tom Werner. I became one of the first magicians to really help him run it and carry it along the Spanish countries. And in doing so, what we ended up having to learn was how to do magic for people that didn't speak our language. Both he, because he didn't speak Spanish, and me, because I didn't speak the other dialects that were spoken. So that it became a lot about your face expressions and understanding your effects, so that you knew when to. Yeah. So that's the answer to that, as far as other languages.
And shout out to your buddy you sent to me, Michael Six.
Right. Michael
out.
Six. Well, I got him on board as well. He became the president of Magicians Without Borders. Yeah, he's great. Awesome kid.
I was about to speak to you about your work with non-for-profit organisations. Actually, that's one of the things I've got written down here. What benefits did you have that you didn't expect from working with non-for-profits?
Finding myself. I didn't expect to find my true voice, to find why I really do magic. It wasn't until that moment. There's a documentary that was sort of constructed on my story and my friend Miles, another magician. And it basically, the documentary follows our lives. And if you see me at the beginning of it, I'm sort of, I had been messing around with the gangs out here in New York and leaving the street gangs to winning Showtime at the Apollo at 16, which is like an America's Got Talent type of show here in the States, in New York at least. And that gave me the confidence I needed to leave the streets. But it also gave me sort of this cocky attitude that I felt like I was going to be the guy. And I remember coming across Chris Kenner, and Chris Kenner was just like, man, you need to humble yourself. Like, you need to just calm the fuck down. Like, he just cursed at me. He's like, you need to calm the fuck down. And he's like, you don't even know why you're doing this yet. Like, you still need to. Now, I'm 18 at the time. And at the time, that's when I get involved with Magicians Without Borders. And when I traveled there, I had realized that my dream my whole life was to travel the world in private jets and do, the biggest theaters. And if my first experience of getting on a plane was to go to El Salvador, this third world country, with Tom Werner. And I remember on the plane, I asked him, because I knew he was so wise. I said, Tom, how do I not turn this into being about me? How do I experience this without secretly in my mind trying to figure out what I'm getting out of this. And he really sort of led me into this idea of living in the moment and really, that idea of just being. And that was all new knowledge for me, but that's what I did. And I took that when I went to El Salvador for the first time with Magicians Without Borders. And to my surprise, what I thought was going to be sort of this good look on me became something I very rarely publicized when I was there. And I just allowed myself to be there with the kids. And I'll never forget him telling me, don't promise these kids you're going to come back, because you're coming here once, but a lot of magicians I bring once and they never come back. And he said, just don't lie to them. Just don't bullshit them. And I promised these kids that I would be back. And I went back for the next 6 years. Every 2 months I was there. I missed tons of, important events that I needed to do because I wanted to stay committed. And that commitment showed me what I was about, what I was truly committed to in magic, which was to genuinely bring happiness to the world. Not to say that because it makes me sound good, not to say that because it looks good on a bio somewhere, because that's really what I'm about. And and so
after having all these experiences, how has that changed your goal, and what do you see your future being like in, say, 5 years or even 6 months?
It's funny. I think the goals can stay the same. I think the intention is what changed. And the intention, which is sort of the story that drives your mission, changed. It was Anthony Robbins that said, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure, right? So getting the show, getting the tour without having fulfillment, which I think comes from knowing what it is that fills you up. If you thought it was about the cars and the money and the this and the, then so what's changed is that I know why I do it. So every time I go on live, for example, on Instagram Live, there's a genuine appreciation that I care about the people watching me. As far as where my goals are, I don't think I care so much about, my focus is not on fame. My focus is on getting to as many people as possible, which sounds the same, but it's not. Fame is, I want to be known. And the other thing is I want to touch as many people as I can.
It's like the difference in being selfish and being selfless. You can still have all the fame, but it's the intention behind it.
Exactly. And I'm secure on that. And I think people can feel that. Mm-hmm. And there's really no fluff because I've been the other thing. Yeah. I know what it feels like to be the guy that's trying to take in the performance, not give.
Do you think I
want your attention. Yeah.
Do you think that's a healthy thing though? Like, because you went from that whenever you said you were 18, and now that you've matured, you've came through that, and now you have the greater wisdom for, what success truly is.
So what is your question? Sorry about that. Were you making a statement or a question?
Well, it was open-ended, I guess. It's like, do you think it's a good thing that you had the, the ego drive for fame and success, and then you went through that, so now you understand that side, and it's given you a better perspective?
Sure. Yeah, I think, I don't know. Would it have been better if I didn't go through it? I don't know. But I did, and I have. It's kind of like, fucking up and learning. So
yeah, hey, that's part of the growth process, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
What would you say the best piece of advice you've ever received is?
I think the one that keeps me going recently. There's one that's particular to magic. The best advice inside of the realm of magic, and as far as like life recently, the one that I've really been living off of is. It's something that Asti Wynn says when he's ever asked. David Copperfield, I think, has been asked the same, and he's always saying the same thing, which is just like, never stop trying to get better. Like, never think you're the best. Just be committed to excellence. You can be committed to trying to get better. And it's this very simple concept, and it'll probably go over the head of 99% of people listening to it, because it's like, oh yeah, okay, duh, we know that. But there's a difference between knowing it and living it. And I think that I live that quote or that advice, and it's changed me. Whereas before, what I was this guy that was trying to sound confident. I was trying to prove that I was good. And I think a lot of magicians are in that road of, oh, look, I can do this, versus a Copperfield who's like, oh, I'm shit. I'm complete shit. I'm still trying to get better. And there's people that do that, but they're not humble. They're not honestly saying that. And then there's some people that are genuinely saying, no, I really, and it's because they understand the potential that they could have versus what they're just trying to give themselves credit for. And I've genuinely, I'm living that right now. I'm not good. I don't want any of the praise. I get it. I'm working hard, but we have so much to go. So that's the best advice right now.
One thing I will say that I think that you're very good at is whenever you hop onto someone's live and you don't know them, they don't know you, but you're able to flow. Like one of the guys had some money out, and they're like, "Hey, you do something with this," and immediately, wow, just like that, you popped into the money change trick. So you're able to flow like you're playing a musical instrument.
Yes, thank you. I consider that a lot to just experience doing it so many times. Comedians have a great saying, you have to be a good comedian, you have to suck for 30 years. You have to just be pure shit. And then you'll start getting good. And I think it's what they're saying is, it's not that your jokes suck. It's just that you learn to relate with people eventually, and you get to, So, but thank you.
You had that prepared though. It's like anybody else would have thought, oh man, this is, stooge, this is pre-set up. But no, it was just, you're just, that quick on your feet.
Thank you.
So you've done a couple of TED Talks. What was the content of the talk?
Yeah, I've done several. I've done two. A couple, not several. Several was three. A couple. I've done two. So the first one I did was in London, at the School of Economics. I think the concept of the talk that day was it was like breaking out of the mainstream. And my talk was actually a performance for that specific one. It was a 9-minute performance where I shared my story of going from the gang to traveling to El Salvador and that journey, and breaking out of the mainstream idea of what magicians are supposed to do. And what I did was I took magic, which was meant to be this either seen as a sophisticated thing on stage or this kiddie thing, and I found this way of presenting magic where I was storytelling while doing magic, but the story I was telling was a very serious story about me getting part of a gang, having my friends killed, being hit over the head with a pipe, and wow. And the transformation that was. So here I was telling this really gruesome, weird, like talking about gangs. It may not even be appropriate at a college, at a Ivy League school, but yet he's doing magic. And so, so like, as I would tell the story, I would do magic. And that's what I did at the London School of Economics. Told my story of gangs. It's called From the Streets to the Stage. And so I did my performance. When I went to El Salvador, I did one as well. I was asked to do one there. There was a university that was holding a TEDx, and they had heard about the work that I was doing in El Salvador. And so that specific talk, I coined it around how the gangs market themselves and how we were taking the same approach to how gangs spread, right? So gangs, let's say the Crips or the Bloods, or in El Salvador's case, the MS-13, which is considered the most violent gang in the world, they spread because they're everywhere, but they influence people that then will be everywhere. So they influence a leader, let's say, in such and such town, who then recruits other people. And then he eventually recruits another leader who recruits other people. So you don't need this one person to recruit everyone. You do it more like a franchise, right? And so I did a TED Talk where I compared McDonald's, these gangs, and then I basically shared what we had done with Magician Without Borders, which, by the way, started in El Salvador, but we now have schools all over the world, in Colombia, in the red light district in India. And no longer is Tom having to run all of those. Now they run themselves more like gangs. They have their own leaders, and they recruit, and they continue recruiting. That was my second subject.
Have you ever noticed that that's kind of like a recurring theme with a lot of the popular magicians, is they come from kind of like the gang thing? I'm not going to name any names, but I can think of, including you, I can think of 5, right off the top of my head. Have you ever noticed that?
Serious?
Yeah.
I didn't. I would love to meet them. I mean, it's funny. I've been attracted to magicians, like attracted in the sense of looking and seeing, not physically attracted, but attracted to guys like guys that come from rough backgrounds. Ryan Tricks, what's his name? Peter Turner, of course. I don't know their exact story, so I wouldn't know if they're in gangs, but personally, that hasn't been my experience growing up in Magic.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think the guys that we looked up to had the story I had. So I had no one necessarily to look at and say, oh yeah, such and such came from my kind of background and they made it. So my personal experience has been most magicians, at least here in the States, are at least, you know, middle class, because magic is expensive to learn. And so you need a parent that's going to pay for your magic, and, you know, and you need to, you know, your life needs to be a little bit put together that you can even have time to focus on magic. So,
For those of you watching, if you would like to know more about what I kind of mentioned, you can check out the book Magic is Dead, and I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, yeah.
Right, Ian Frisch.
Yeah, I'm cool with Ian. Yeah, sure. I didn't read the book. Sorry, Ian. Love you. But I lived a lot of the moments with Ian. We were together a lot with Chris Ramsey. But yeah.
So you have a product called Juxtaposition. It's an effect that people can buy. What is the effect for people at home? Or, is there any chance you can show us it?
Yeah, let's do it. So Juxtaposition was an effect that I created because I was at a magic shop and we were talking about the perfect card trick, what it would look like. And we sort of had a little competition with each other of who can come up with the best impossible card trick. And my take on it was that if you're going to do an impossible card trick, then what you should do is a trick that they don't choose a card, they only see one. And then the second thing we wanted to do was come up with a trick where somebody can see a card and not take one, but then it doesn't have any gimmicks. So that's what you're about to watch, a gimmickless effect where you don't have to take out a card. First things first, which do you want to start with? Or Jackson, just choose one, the red one or the blue one, whatever you say.
The blue one.
Perfect. So I want you to keep, could I keep this up here? Actually, this might work. I might do this. Look at that. So the blue deck will stay there. Now, let me ask you, why not the red one? Here, I'll stand up for this. Why? Did you have something against the red, or you just like blue better? Why?
Dunno, just random choice. Absolutely no thought behind it whatsoever.
Okay, all right. I just want to know. So here's what we'll do. I'm going to go through several of the cards. What I want you to do is, actually, here, I'll do it this way. I want you to just look at one. I won't go through all of them, not to bore you. So I'll go through some, but don't tell me. But tell me if you remember one card.
Yeah.
Did you get one? Here, I'll go over again really quick. Just remember if it's a diamonds, hearts, clubs, spades, whatever it is. But don't tell me. You have it though, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Watch the blue deck. It'll happen right here. 1, 2, 3. Now you didn't make it easy. You didn't make it the 3 of hearts, did you?
No.
Look, your card should be gone. Yeah, I'll go through them a little bit faster.
It worked for me.
You don't see it, do you?
Do it a little bit slower.
Oh, sorry. I'll go one by one. I showed you about like a couple cards.
Yeah, it's gone, yeah.
Yeah.
It's gone, yes? Now here, I'll keep going through them. Now, that's because, remember, you chose the blue deck at the beginning. I'll keep these here. Look, one card in here looks a little bit different. Actually, what was the card that you saw?
2 of clubs.
The 2 of clubs. Look, we'll show you the 2 of clubs. You could see that there. What I don't understand is out of the entire deck, you chose the only red card. And so that's Juxtaposition.
That is great.
It's nice. Where can people find that? Just Magic Dealers worldwide?
Yeah, Magic Dealers worldwide, Penguin, Murphy's. I think it's a download now because it, like I said, it's 2 normal decks. So basically, you just grab your own decks and I teach you how to do it.
Right. So when you present magic tricks, is there anyone that you take influence from, or anyone that you admire their performance style and you try to emulate, or is it something that you try to sort of wing it and find your own way?
Definitely want to find my own voice, my own way. But of course, like I said earlier, my 2 mentors, Danny Doherty's and Ossie Wynn, I guess the things that I take from them, Ossie, earlier I said my general advice of life, you know, always get better, never think you're the best. But my specific magic advice that I get from him that I live by is this idea that magicians are afraid of their power, right? It's a Max Maven thing that says, you know, and magicians will normally throw in a joke, or they sort of minimize the moment of when the magic happens. Sometimes even unconsciously, they'll just throw in a joke, or as the person's reacting, they'll sort of say, "Yeah, that was kind of crazy, isn't it?" And like, it's just you don't know how to handle that moment because you don't know what it means. You know, they're going crazy. Does that mean you're God? Like, what does that say about you? And to me, and Asi always recommended the book Designing Miracles and Strong Magic and books like this, where he was really letting me just let magic live as this impossible thing. And then you can be funny and you can be whatever you want to be around, you know, before and after the effect, but the effect itself should always be respected and given its space. Mm-hmm. So as far as magic, I think that I try to take that as a style. All my magic tricks, I try to at least leave it to the audience to decide that this is impossible by not interrupting with a joke. And I think in that way, I do create a little style. As far as Danny DeOrtiz, I like his style of it seems like it's random or I don't want to say all over the place, but it's almost spontaneous. And here, you grab and you shove. When for years I would watch him and I was like, man, how does this guy freestyle like this? It's just incredible. And of course, after taking lectures with him, you learn like nothing is freestyle. Like he is absolutely on point with everything. It just feels that way. And in terms of style, I think I've derived those two things. But then, of course, trying to make it my own.
Yeah, he's sort of got like a Leonard Green esque, or Juan Tamariz esque sort of style, where it's just sort of like, okay, and then we do this thing, and then this thing, and then wow, it's crazy, you know.
Yeah.
So, exactly. Where do you want to be in 5 years' time?
Having my own show, I think that it's going to be time for me to create a theatrical show for people. Now, it may be that it doesn't come across as the original stage show. I've always had dreams of the word experience versus a show. The word experience as in, what does it look like when you get the invitation to come see the show? What does it look like? What if you weren't sitting during the show? What if you were walking through the show? So things like this. So my goal in 5 years is to create an experience for people to come see, very much an interactive experience, of course, revolved around magic and the feeling that magic gives you, but we may add some other things involved in it.
So if you need a consultant, call Peter Turner. If you can't afford him,
yes, I am down.
I'm just joking. Right, we'll wrap this up. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks so much for coming to speak with us, and thanks to everyone at home who's spent time with us. To everybody at home, please like, subscribe, all the things, because it really helps out, and we hope to see you and everyone else again. Where can people find you, Devonte? Where would you like people to try find you? Yeah,
it seems as if right now when we're recording this that most of my attention is on Instagram. So at DevonteMagic, DEVONTE Magic, common spelling MAGIC. So DevonteMagic on Instagram, and of course, once you know that, then it's easier for you to find my website, DevonteMagic.com. Right now we're growing with the YouTube, so chances are that within the next year, I may transition more on YouTube than I am on Instagram. So I would watch out for those two things. But yeah, so those are sort of the three plugs: Instagram first, website, YouTube. But chances are, depending on when people hear this, I could be, let's say, more on YouTube. But yeah, DevonteMagic on either one of those.
Fantastic. Now,
keep up the hustle, man.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you, guys. This was fun.
All right. Everybody have a good one.
All right, guys.